I just told Drake, I was like, let's just hit record before we get into this because I mean, all of this is gonna be shit that people want to hear.
That's smart. There's I was asking like when did we when did what was that? I can't even remember. What
Well,
was that?
it was before you had your stroke.
Yeah.
It was probably 17 or 18. Did we meet at Daly's event or did we meet at Kenny's event?
I think we met at Ken Duke's event.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was a house. It was like a house, and I remember being confused because there's like a bunch of different rooms in the house, and I was trying to find my room, and I don't know if you went to sleep, but I felt like decimated because I didn't know you very well, and I opened the door, and you were like chilling for a second, and I was like, I am so sorry. You remember that when I walked
I
over you?
remember that. It's at Ken's okay, was that the year that Daly was in the same house?
Uh,
You were in the back house, right? And I was in
yeah,
the front of the house. But,
yeah,
I mean, I think Jocko was in the same room or
yeah,
in the same house. I mean, it's so wild. Ken is one of my good friends, and I tell him this all the time. I'm like, "Ken, I am the biggest loser out of all of the people that you invite because I am the girl who's going to bed by, like, 11 o'clock at the absolute latest, and
yeah.
you throw me in the house with the guys who, like, literally don't get started until I'm headed to bed." Like, Daly's on the back porch, Jocko's singing at 3 in the morning, you're cruising in. It's one of the greatest events. Ken does such a fantastic job, but I always feel like this like lone duck because I'm like, I'll be up at 5 in the morning with you guys, but I'm not partying until 3.
No, I'm with you now, especially with the 2-year-old. You know, we've got a 2-year-old, and I have like this switch, Christina, that's like, um, I can do the road thing, and on the road, you know, 2 or 3 a.m. is what time I usually in bed by 2, 1 or 2. And here though, I mean, he's in bed at 8 a.m., and then, I'm usually in bed by 9 and up at like 6.
I
So
love it. Well, I sent you that text the other morning to confirm, and I was like, "Oh god, I'm sending this to a singer at 7 o'clock in the morning." This guy's not waking up for a few hours, but obviously knowing that you and your wife have your 2-year-old now, I mean, my gosh, you gotta be up. Like, he's not gonna let you sleep until 10.
yeah, and naturally, I mean, I like my sleep, I like my 8 hours, but especially after the stroke, I mean, I have to have it, but, I'm naturally a morning person. I like the mornings. I like getting up. I like doing my devotion. I like sauna. I like working out in the morning. I like getting everything finished. And I like the afternoons if I want to play golf or if I want to go, fishing or hunting. I like the afternoons to do what I want to and then watch the sunset and then start all over.
Oh my gosh, we are the same human because that is my jam. I feel like I can accomplish more by 10 o'clock than most people because I'll be up at, my husband and I are both up at 5 or 6 in the morning and kind of cruising. But by 3 o'clock, I'm kind of shutting her down. Like, and I'm not really an after. I'm like a kind of go for a walk, chill out afternoon. Obviously during the summer, you're living in Nashville. Are you guys getting that big storm today? We're about to get blasted.
I think so. I'd forgot about it. Snow out here is like Armageddon, people
Exactly.
freak out. Um, but yeah, I think we're supposed to get some snow.
I know.
So we're, I actually wrote with a good buddy. I actually wrote with Riley Green yesterday, and we wrote a song kind of about like, and in a line in the song said like, milk and bread may be sold out, but we'll be all right because where are you at? Where do you live?
I'm in Arkansas. Same
Okay,
thing. Same
you get
thing.
um like milk and bread might be sold out, but we'll be all right if everything goes south. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because like the milk and bread, sometimes I think they forecast snow just to sell milk and bread. So
100%. I'm originally from Canada. I don't know if you remember that, but I'm originally from Canada. So I grew up where it was snow, 6 months of the year, always cold. When I first moved down to Arkansas 22, 23, however many years ago it was, I always thought these people were crazy once like the snow was forecasted. I mean, I'm talking 2 weeks out, everyone's already thinking about the world shutting down, but it does make sense down here. I mean, they got no plows. They're not prepared for it. People go crazy about it. So we'll probably be shut down for a good week. It happens twice a year, and I think everyone kinda looks forward to it to kinda snuggle in, but after 2 days, I'm like, "Get me the hell out of this house." I'm an idiot. I'll go for a walk in the ice, and people are like, driving down. I live in a pretty nice neighborhood and people are taking their four-wheelers. I'm sure you do the same thing with the kids, throw them
Yeah.
on the back of the four-wheelers, pull them through the nice neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah. I'm always out. Like, I'll put my chainsaw in the back of a side by side and just ride around because my wife, like, I'm a busybody. I have to be busy. And January, admittedly, January and February, I'm not a big fan of because the music industry, I'm a worker. I like to work. I like to be busy. I like to grind. And the music industry shuts down, Christina, like at like November the 15th, and they don't get going back until March the 1st. It drives me nuts. It's like, what are you doing in January and February? And all the banks, all the planners seem to kind of shut down. It's like, I don't need that much time to recharge. I'm good. I'm people hate me for that because I'm like calling and trying to figure out the angles and all that. But yeah, it's interesting. The music industry is definitely interesting.
So I'd love to know, like, obviously, I'm sure most people know who you are, obviously, the one and only Drake White, pretty darn famous over there. But like, how did you get into this, Drake? And how old are you? You and I think you're younger than I am.
Yeah, well, I'm 41.
Okay. I'm 42, same age.
Yeah,
But how did you get into this? Because I'm so curious. I think everyone's stories are so different.
yeah. For me, um, I didn't start this till late in my 20s. I was I went to Auburn and got a engineering degree or a building science degree. I don't know, like it's a specific degree to manage big commercial construction projects and stuff like that. And there's a lot of engineering in it. Anyway, I got that degree and basically started playing music. In high school, I knew how to play GC and D and a guitar, and I always loved music. I was the guy with the big binder of CDs, and just you know, I played. I always had a great sound system, and I knew how to throw a party. I knew how to like round up the chickens, and let's go. And we uh we were always those guys, and I started playing music for fun, just to have a good time and build a fire. And the proverbial girl thing, like I play music because I realized the girl, like, that was there some, but like music was just it was like in me. And whether I was in church listening to gospel music or my sister's your age, and she was listening to Tupac and Sublime. She was listening to Seether and all this Disturbed. You remember Disturbed and Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock and all these stuff that young people were listening to. I was listening. My uncle was listening to Merle and Willie and all the classic country. My dad was listening to like Cream and Zeppelin and all that. And and then my mom listening to, like, soul music, like Muscle Shoals funk and soul. And so I was just like I was in love with it all, and, like, I just got chills saying that. I was in love with when I heard a melody, and my son, man, he is, like, tapping on things. He's got it in him, like, he's already, like, everything's music. Jack Johnson, Ben Harper, he's Bob Marley. You turn Bob Marley on, he's good. And, so it was in me, and then I moved to Auburn, and started going to school there after junior college, and we set up in a cul-de-sac, dude, in uh, a PA on a stick, and got shut down by a cop, and the cop was kinda cute, and she was like a female cop, and she was like, "Hey, y'all sound pretty good. I just got a noise ordinance, and I gotta shut y'all down." And I was like, "Why don't you come, we'll set up somewhere else. Why don't you come hang out? Because how cool would it be to date a cute cop?" And I was like, she goes, "Well, my buddy owns Wings to Go." And every Saturday for 3 years after that, I had the 5-year plan in college. Um, we played at Wings to Go, and it birthed this thing of like, you know, in golf, I had to practice until my hands bled to shoot a freaking 80. Um, in baseball, I had to hit bat and practice till my hands bled and catch and pitch to play at I was good, but like to play at a junior college level. This I didn't have to practice. Like, singing just was like, "Buh," "She talks to angels," "Blah," and it was like it was easy, and then I've always been a spiritual dude, and I realized that that was a God gift. I realized that we talked about this, and I wanna
Yes,
talk
we
about this
did.
before. We talked about golfers with that gift and that swing and just, when you hear the ball being clipped by Johnny D, like, it's a different sound. That's a different sound than when, an amateur hits it or not an amateur in PGA, but, like a just a everyday 190 golfer, shooting 90. Um, that was me, like, singing was like, "No, this is easy." And dude, I moved to Nashville full of piss and vinegar and confidence and was like, "Get out of the way. I'm coming." And, nobody said shit for 4 years, 5 years. And I was like, "What's going on?" Like, and the truth is, I wasn't good enough yet. And when I started writing and about the time I got my 10,000 hours, and I kept up with it. I didn't keep up with it literally, but like I'm a math guy, engineering guy. I started thinking about how much time that I'd put into music, construction, and it's when I gave it all up and started, you know, listening to what God was saying of like, that music thing, that's you, man. Build the fire, keep building the fire. And that's why I call my culture the big fire. And so after college, moved to Nashville, had the construction job, half-assed both things for 4 years. Somebody walked in named Brett Saliba from Alabama, said, "Do you want to open up for Willie Nelson?" And I said, "Well, buy me a beer and sit down. And what kind of question is that?" Of course. Um, met Jamie Johnson, met Randy Houser, met everybody in the business, and got a record deal. And, you know,
You
now
know,
I'm here. That was the first of it. That's 2010.
that is such a crazy story because the I hey, you need to share this to all of your community and see if we can break Jamie's record because right now, Jamie Johnson is the number 1 most downloaded episode I've ever had on this podcast. And his story about basically his story was he talked about all the things, he was in construction, he was about to quit, and he said George Strait gave him that God moment. And for you, it was the Willie Nelson that gave you that God moment because, he said that that was just like when, George picked up his song, he said that that was just like the moment that kind of everything took off, but he said the exact same thing. He said it took him 4 to 5 years in order to actually he knew in his soul just like you. It was like a God-given gift. It was the thing that he was most passionate about on the planet. I mean, that I feel like is the number one thing that most people just don't pay enough attention to. I mean, what I do for a living, I would do this for free. Obviously, I get paid really well and I enjoy it so much, but it is the thing that like I could talk to someone about mindset and passion and drive and like all day long, all day, every day. And it kind of seems like the same thing for you and Jamie when he was talking about like that was the only thing he wanted to do on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this thing. It said, I've got a board in front of me. I wish I could show you. It's a whiteboard. I'm still the kid that whiteboards everything out. I like to see everything. I'm on the spectrum a little bit. I've been called socially unacceptable. I'm hyperactive. I'm ADHD. I have all these things. I've had a brain injury. I've been paralyzed. I've come back from it, and we'll get into that. Um, this is what God wants me to do, and all I have to do is not quit. And uh, I care that I take that with me everywhere, and now I'm speaking from people, to kids and speaking to the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, because like I truly have the authority and hard times gave me that authority because learning how to walk again at 34, 35 years old, that shit was hard. Going through 7 years of infertility, that was hard. Watching my wife do that. My wife being paralyzed from her breast down, that was hard. But what I realized is when God's got something great for you, um, the devil's going to kick you in the nuts a lot. And the harder he's kicking, the more excited I get because I know that something's right there. And that's the way I feel right now. I'm 41 years old. I've been dropped twice by a record company. I've been dropped by my management. I've rebuilt everything. I have a great management, a great team. And now you're witnessing people like Red Clay Strays, Muscadine Bloodline, myself, Riley Green, all this real authentic Jamie stuff is working. And I've been doing it for, for a while, for a long time, but it's God's timing as well. This is my thing. This is what I do. It's not hard for me. So it's really just me sinking in and being okay, being okay with the process, of it all.
Did this come before or after the stroke? So obviously you had the stroke back in August of 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have the same mindset before the stroke, or has it just been really fertilized now that the stroke has come on?
No, it, how I love Deion Sanders,
I do too.
stuff. And like, hey, says, I am him.
Yeah.
Like in baseball, like the coach knew that I could run practice. The people knew that I would plan the senior trip. The people knew like like they also knew that I would go buy the beer and you know grow weed in the hollow.
Yeah.
So there was the juxtaposition of that, which made for a great country artist. But um, they also knew I had Jesus. They also knew it was all this gumbo pot of mixed up stuff. Like I, it's a balance of all that stuff. Remind me of where I'm going with this. What's your question?
The question was, is did you have this mindset and this drive and
Oh
determination
yeah.
before the stroke, or did it just really like the stroke and the journey now after the stroke to get back? Is that what really has grown
Right.
your ability to
It's
have that
definitely
faith?
it's definitely grown it, but like you're talking about somebody that at 15 years old put a 2-inch ball on the back of a Honda Foreman and had 5 yards and got into the church directory. By the end of that summer, I had 35 yards. By the end of my the age of 17, I had 125 yards mowing them. Like I've just always been like, how can I build it? How can I do it? So no, I've always had the dog in me. And I've always like my dad and my uncle, whether it be a deer or a duck or you know, a fish, I've always had the effort part. I used to tell girls all the time, you're going to get 100% effort. I promise. You may not be the best you've ever had, but I'm going to give you everything I got.
I love
And that that is that's just me to a T. And I think that's the only thing I can control. Um, so yeah, it's always been in me. And then the stroke, dude, like it gutted me. And I realized rock bottom had a basement. And I never really understood um depression. I never really had empathy for the guy on the side of the street. Mental health was just like, man, them guys need to toughen up and quit being such, pansies or whatever. Um, that gutted me, dude. I had what's called an AVM. We'll just go into this at this
Yeah,
school.
please.
2016 January, I was running about 5 miles a day. I was getting ready for kind of a triathlon type thing. Not really, but sort of. Um, and I was doing that to prep to kind of be the Eddie Vedder of country music, to like be able to run around and do that thing. And we had a tour with Zach Brown planned. I'd just been dropped from a record deal, but we had an Australia tour and Zach Brown and I was feeling it because I was going to get to release my own music and own the masters and own all that stuff. And then I had Zach, I had all this stuff rolling, and I had people like John Daly and Jamie and all these. I had this group of people that were just like, keep going, man. And I got a headache. That headache put me in an MRI, and the MRI showed that I had what's called an arterial venous malformation, an AVM. There was the size of a lime in the back right side of my brain that is the mobile cortex of your left side. That just came in the form of a headache. I mean, that's all it was. So the first thing we get the news back, it took 2 weeks to get that news back. Now I thought I had cancer or thought I had something crazy. And 2 week they come in, they set us down, and they were like, it's an AVM. Congratulations, you're one of 32,000. Um, and it was in my brain, and they started embolizing it through my femoral artery with a catheter. They'd run it up through my femoral artery into the back of my brain, and they needed 8 of those surgeries. And what they would do is they would start the surgery on a Monday, and I would rest Tuesday and Wednesday. And then my doctor's name was Dr. Miracle, his real name. And I would
It's a good one.
rest.
I'd choose that guy too.
Yeah, he's my brain surgeon. And I would I would rest, and he said he greenlit me for Thursday and Friday and Saturday shows. And man, I felt better than ever because my brain, and we'll get to the golf thing of like maybe I could be a pro golfer. Um, my brain goes, you know what? I've had inadequate blood flow to my brain. That's what they're telling me for my whole life. And I have 3,000 people coming to watch me tonight. I'm doing pretty good. So when I get adequate blood flow, I might be Bob Dylan, or, I might be the next freaking, you know, male Celine Dion. Who knows? And that was a weird, that was weird. Uh,
She's got the best voice ever, so there you go
right.
for tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a great analogy. I'll take it.
So that's my mindset. That was that. So to go back to your thing, like that was my mindset of like, man, I'm good. So we go in, we do 40 shows. We go to Bahrain, play for the troops. I'm talking all the way from January to August is the timeline, 2019. And I take the stage in Roanoke, Virginia, and I'm like, dude, I'm in good shape. I'm like 8% body fat. I'm running, I'm working out, I'm taking care of. I'm not drinking because that diagnosis had pushed me into this. Man, you're 35 years old. You need to get your shit straight. And so I feel really good. I take the stage, and about 3 songs in, I started this song called "The Coast Is Clear," and my hand felt numb. Just kind of numb, like I was having trouble feeling the chords under my fingers. And then my left leg felt like it had a bowling ball on the end of it. And I was like, man, this is weird. And for a split second, I was like, um, I might be, I might be having a stroke. But if you watch the video, which I just watched it for the first time because we're making a documentary right now that we'll get to. Um, that drive and that push, I'm in my brain. I know something's wrong. Numbness, bowling ball, and you can see me pushing through it. We're athletes, pushing through it, 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 pop. And a gun, like a sound of a gun went off in the back of my head. And I'm not being dramatic. It sounded like a shotgun. And the everything flipped upside down, like the sky turned green, and the grass turned blue, like it was, and people started talking like the guy on Old School, like when you get shot in the neck with a dart, like everything slowed down, and it was just like really. And for a split second, I was like, "This is kind of like mushrooms. Like this is like this is weird." And I was like, "Oh crap! I'm having a stroke." Well, my wife is a type A personality. She had prepared, along with the neuro team, had prepared a folder. If this happens, hand this to the EMT. Then it was a folder that said he needs this coagulant in his brain. He has experienced a brain bleed. And Christina, within 15 minutes, the hospital was 3 minutes away. I was being watched by EMTs. They saw me stagger. You'll see it in the documentary. They pull me off. Within 15 minutes, they have me with the folder in their hand, administered the coagulant, got my brain to quit bleeding within, and that is the lifesaver.
Yeah.
That's the thing that saved my life. And I saw angels during this. I saw bright lights. I floated above the bed. I screamed in agony. I saw hell. I saw heaven. I saw everything that you can imagine. And, you know, they they were contemplating putting a shunt in to drain all the blood off my brain. And now, like, oddly enough, I've got a friend that is actually very sadly about to be taken off life support, um, that had the same thing happen to him, and they're about to take him off this morning.
Oh.
It's a friend of a friend, but he had an AVM rupture in his brain, and they put 2 shunts in, and one of the shunts caved in. And, that my whole thing was like, I didn't wanna be brain dead, you know? I didn't wanna be, a burden to anybody, I'm the Eddie Vedder of country music. I'm Drake White. How could this happen to me? Not to speak of myself in third person, but how could this happen to me? I am Superman. I'm going out on this stuff. I'm I'm living my dreams. I'm the one on stage. And then the mental battle ensued. And we probably have to have another podcast to talk about, you know, what's what's come of it. But I fought my way back to the stage only to be kicked in the nuts again by COVID. And then my wife uh, had an autoimmune disorder that triggered type 1 diabetes, and she became paralyzed. And people say we were both paralyzed at kind of the same time. And we're 36 years old, and people are like, "What did y'all do?" Like, well, we called our moms, and our moms came and lived with us and wiped our butts, and like, I'll give anybody out there that experiences a paralytic situation, I hope it never happens, but get you a bidet, because that saved my manhood of, like, somebody didn't have to help do that. And there you go. There's a little advice. But it was it floored me. And all I gotta say is I'm 5 years out of that, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me, And I still have numbness in this hand. I still have trouble playing guitar. I still have trouble, I limp on stage, and I prayed for healing over and over and over and over. And God kind of told me, along with some friends, he was like, maybe I'm working something that you can't see through somebody seeing you limp on stage, the possibility of what you're able to do. And maybe Hawk, my son, maybe he becomes stronger because he sees his dad, go through this stuff. Or maybe the music, the music's been amazing. The writing, the muse, all the stuff, the speaking opportunities. And that's all I want to do. It's so fulfilling doing that. But that was all because of something that seemed life ending, and I knew what suicide looked like. I saw the black hole, and you can dive in that black hole all day long. And thank God that I had people that helped me out of it. And thank God that I had a kind of a heavenly father that I prayed to, and that pulled me out of that, because that's a real thing.
How Thank you for sharing all that, because I think it's like the most important part. I think so many people could look at, your life, or someone who has the type of success that you have, and just think that it's about, all of the accolades, all of the amazing fun things, the private jets, all of the toys and the experiences. But it's really about those. I mean, I feel like the very similar, and obviously I don't have the success that you do, but the way that someone tells you that you've really impacted their life. And I'm sure for you, it's don't get me wrong, I love the money, I love all the fun things, but for you, I'm sure it's much more of the people, the comments, like you getting back on stage after a stroke, and what someone says that you've inspired them to do. I'm sure that the music, the lyrics that you write, I mean, I'm sure that that's so much more important to you. My question to you is this: how did you get through the dark days, the days where you didn't know that you wanted to move on? I'm sure your faith is a big part of that. I'm sure Alex, your wife, is a huge part of that as well. But like, how did you actually do that? How did you stay in that? I mean, I love the mindset part of it, and I love that part, and I'd just be so curious.
Um, the default answer is my faith, because that is the answer. That is the only answer, is Jesus and my faith, and talking to him daily. diving into the word, diving into what it meant, and not the American bastardized version of Christianity, diving into what it meant to be truly broken and truly, if you say you're tough, which I always have said I was tough, if you say you are optimistic, if you say you believe, if you say you want to be a writer and you want to write like Aretha Franklin and you want to sing like that, well, she had to endure pain to be able to sing like that. Then here's your opportunity. Excuse me. Here's your opportunity. So, but it was a collaborative. My faith was the cornerstone of it for sure. And just diving into that word and diving into prayer and acceptance of gratitude of like, you know what I had? Focus on what I had, like the gratitude of like, I am walking. I am alive. My buddy this morning, he's not gonna make it. It's he's got 2 kids. He's 43 years old. It's like his life is over on earth. And
Gratitude is one of the greatest things ever. I honestly feel like most people overlook gratitude because they feel like it's just too simple, and yet, in my opinion, I think it's the only thing. Like, it's the only thing that can kinda keep you going if you don't have faith. Obviously, faith is a huge part of my life as well, but people so overlook the gratitude of life, just to be so grateful for, like, the tiniest things. To me, if we could change one thing in the world, it would be that. I think that that's truly transformed my life.
yeah, and it's hard for athletes and driven people, like, on the Enneagram and on the disc profile, I'm a strong D, like, I'm gonna push through and
Yeah.
try to figure out how to win, and I'm extremely competitive, and, I read this thing, don't let your ambition get in the way of your mission. Um, don't let your ambition get in the way of God's mission, which
Yeah.
meant I didn't understand why that happened and why I was paralyzed and why I was having to get help using the bathroom. But I'm starting to now because people come up to me and they go, you know what? I was facing some real tough times and I heard this song and it pulled me out, you know, and that's it. That's it for me. I mean, I could get number ones, I could get Grammys, and those would be great. Those accolades are awesome, and I intend on getting those. I intend on selling out Madison Square Garden and Red Rocks,
Amen.
the cul-de-sac to Red Rocks in Jesus' name, amen. And it's like I intend on doing on that because I'm a driven SOP.
Oh,
But
you
it's
cuss on this podcast. One of the things I love about you, you said, "I love Jesus in four-letter words." Drake, I love Jesus in four-letter words.
yeah. That's a tough one for a Baptist preacher. They're like, "I don't know," but I I'm honest with what it was a collaborative though, how I got through it, I do not know. Some days I was like, "I am so tired of TikTok and Instagram. I'm so tired of having to drum up." Like I made up this thing and I'm still pushing it. It's right on my list right here. It says, where's it at? It says, contact the ACM and tell them to make a Drake White Resilient Award.
Oh, I love that.
It says it right there. I mean, I can't flip this around, but some people would say, well, that's self, whatever, gratifying or self, highlighting or what was that word? Self, elevating,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't care. I know because of people, whatever you think is what you think. But I am I am in the God I'm in the making moments worth repeating business.
Amen.
And like I want to help people not jump off the bridge, not not succumb to the black hole. There's a great life in front of you. There's good things happening. There's more good people than bad. Eat good food, work out, go play golf, go catch the fish, go ask the girl to dance, go get the golden retriever and and go for the freaking Grammy. I mean, go do it. And that's what I want to push out there. Like if God's got it in your head, then it's stay in the spirit and go for it. And man, that's that's it for me. This is it.
There's no other option. There's no plan B. I love that so much. And one of the things that I always tell my clients, and I've said it on this podcast for years, is there's always a way to yes. And I think that that's one of the things that always drives me is I'm like you. I'm extremely competitive. I think that it's one of my greatest gifts. It's also one of the things that hurt me. I mean, I'm just so damn competitive, but I also truly do believe that there's always a way to yes in this world. And I think you and I have both had the luxury of being around some amazing people and having some amazing opportunities. And it's just proof of what's possible. And I think you are proof of what's possible, not only in music, but the fact that you've come back from a debilitating stroke, the fact that you've come back from so many things. I mean, you are proof that it's possible for anyone else who's in those dark moments. During this process, you went to Mexico and you got stem cells. This has obviously been a big part of your rejuvenation. I think you said your wife even is taking them for infertility.
Well, I convinced her to go. She's a diabetic, and they're doing a bunch of research on the pancreas and actually injecting them directly into the pancreas. She didn't get them injected directly this time, um, but she got them intravenously, and and it's helped. It's helped. I don't know, even if it's placebo, I think that's powerful. A
Amen.
placebo effect is powerful. If you believe you're healing, you are healing.
Yep.
And a stroke is something that the faith thing, you just have to have faith that the neuroplasticity is forming around the lesion. And I can visualize that because I'm weird. I'm an artist. I can just I think about that stuff, and when I think about it, I'm healing.
That's
And
manifestation. That's everything. That is every single thing. It's like I truly believe that from the bottom of my soul. If you believe it until it's real, it becomes real. Like I will find proof that everything is humanly possible. I don't care what it is. I will decide it in my brain until I find proof in reality. Like, there's
yeah.
so much shit that I've already, like, found, like, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this'll happen." Like, I just haven't found reality proof yet, but, like, 100%, and I love that you're saying that because it's so true.
Yeah. My grandfather said, "Why would you go fishing and bait the hook and throw the hook in the water and believe anything but I'm gonna catch a fish every cast that I put in? Why would you believe that every time you hit a putt that it's not gonna go in? Why would you believe anything but every time I write a song that it's not gonna go number 1? Why would you not do that? Like, what are we doing?" And so that's why that my drive sometimes the ambition, to the laid back everybody wants to be the laid back cool cat, and I
No,
and
I
I
don't.
believe I believe I am. I believe we are, and but there's this when I see the laid back dude of like, "Oh, bro, just take it easy." It's just like I just look at him like, "Nope, I can't. I'm not gonna take it easy because 'cause I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna go out there, because I'm called to this now, and like I said, the authority comes from heartache and getting through that and being and I use that the empathy comes from heartache, and when you have authority and empathy, that's a powerful thing. That's when God puts those together, and, you have the no quit. As simple as we just said it sounds, the manifestation tools, the Tony Robbins stuff. I've been to Tony Robbins 3 times.
Yes!
People hate me for it because I come back and like, I wanna
It's
fire a
hard not
whole
to exude that when you come back. It's hard not to, like, want everyone to drink the Kool-Aid. I get it. I tell my clients all the time after they do retreats or events with me or whatever it is, I'm always like, "Okay, now listen, not everyone has experienced this exact thing that you've experienced, so when you come home, you kinda sound like a crazy person."
Yeah. Yeah. You wanna fire the whole music industry after you do that. You wanna come back and be like, "We need to be doing this," and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." But man, it's been a crazy ride, and all I wanna do is tell the story. It's produced this speaking. I just spoke to like 2,500 people in Los Angeles with the American Stroke Association. I've done a bunch of corporate type events, and it's a different speaking opportunity and experience because when you have motivational speakers, it's like, oh, great, here's a dude. But I'll tell the story and go, this song came from this story. So it breaks up the monotony of that, and I feel like that's came from all of this. I feel like there's dozens of songs that have came from it. Um,
What are the
there's
few songs that we can get everyone to go listen to right now that are, like, one of the most important ones from this experience?
oh man, I think Life, Love, and War is a big one. Um, I think Hurts the Healing is probably the biggest. I'll tell you the Hurts the Healing story real quick. Um, I had new tennis balls on my walker that moment, and was easing around in a walker. I weighed about 140 pounds. I weigh 185 now, so it's like I was skin and bones, and I had prayed. Well, I called my publisher and I said, Tom, I still write for Sony, and I said, could you get me some rights? I have this awesome muse. I'm a writer, and I've had this experience of angels and demons and all this stuff. Like I want to write. He goes, Drake, um, this thing called COVID has set in. Um, and I was like, COVID. Now I like Googled it. I was like, what is COVID? And and it gave me some bullshit answer, of course, um, or it gave me sorry, it gave me
No, that you're fine. It's
and it gave me an answer, and I was like, oh, and I put my head down and I said, Lord, please let me get this muse out there. Let me get this songs. Let me do something that's worth let this not go in vain. Let this experience, this paralytic state that I'm in, let it let me have the opportunity to help somebody or a purpose, find a purpose in it. And I said, give me the ability to write. And 2 days later, I called Tom and Tom told me, "Hey, the pandemic set in. Would you be willing to write on Zoom?" Well, I couldn't walk. So it was everybody hated Zoom writing because it's hard enough to write a song. I was like, Tom, I'll write in effing smoke signals, bro. Like, I don't give a shit. And the first person that popped up was a girl named Allison Belts Cruz and a guy named Aaron Chaffin. And Aaron Chaffin said, Drake, I've been watching what you've been going through. People magazine and all these people, did things. And by the way, people still don't know. A lot of people that were real close to me because life goes by so fast, and the TikToks that you're watching, you know, 2 hours a day, you're not paying attention to like. And Aaron goes, I've been watching what you've been going through, and my mom and dad had a car wreck that put them in intensive care for 3 months side by side with each other. And what most folks didn't realize is that it was a physical dispute that put them in that car wreck.
oh,
And he said they were fighting. And he said, what did God do when he wanted them to stay married? He put them in intensive care side by side with each other where they couldn't escape each other's wrath. And he said, now they have 5 kids. That was 35 years ago. They've been married. He goes, I was the fifth. So if they wouldn't have had that wreck, then we wouldn't be writing this song. So all I got to say is maybe the hurt is the healing. And we wrote Hurts the Healing, and it's one of my favorite songs, and it's helped. It's helped so many people. So many people have told me that it's helped. And it just says maybe tears don't fall for nothing. Maybe they're rivers rushing to baptize me clean. Maybe fear is a friend I should be facing on those midnight cold sweats shaking in this prayer I'm whispering. And that's the first 2 lines. So the whole song is like, maybe, you can't grow without pain. You can't grow without your muscles. You can't grow muscles without them being sore. And so it's just maybe that hurt and that pain is it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me because now I can come and raise a kid that's gonna be stronger and raise a culture that's gonna be stronger and just a godly influence in the world that that, just grip it and rip it, man, that can tell people that, like, that's all we got.
And you've also started your Benefit for the Brain Foundation, and that is obviously going to bless so many people. I'd love to kinda touch on that. I mean, like you said, we could do hours and hours of this, but I obviously want
I'm
to
good.
respect your time.
I've got time. We're good. Benefit for the Brain is we set up a 501(c)(3) type deal where, the Ryman is the church, is the mother church. That's where, and we went, and I wanted to show people my first kind of headlining show at the Ryman, what I'd been through. And I wanted to give them strength about advocacy. Like, you have to become your own advocate, because I'll be very blunt in saying, like, this, it's on its way, I think, out of it maybe, but you're, and I praise the good Lord for great doctors in the Western world and in this country. But man, I had to become my own advocate, and I caught some flack on the stem cell thing, because they convinced us that it was from freaking dead babies and all. Like, that none of that shit's true. You have to go in and do your own research
Amen.
of the word. You got to do your own research of the medicine. You got to know what you're putting in your body. And I said that from the rhyming stage, and I got my buddy Ed Clay, who runs the clinic in Tijuana that does the stem cells, to come in and speak. I got the guy from uh, the veterans, creative vets, who were writing songs with vets to overcome PTSD, which has been amazing, to come in. Uh, there was buddies that was advocating everything from good lettuce to psilocybin, man, and I mean everything in between. Like, and I'm not saying it might not work for you, but, like, there's a rower right here, there's a Peloton right there, there's a whole room full of weights right here. That's what works for me. And I think it probably would work for most people. But it doesn't matter if you believe you're healing, then it doesn't matter if it's ayahuasca or if it's just going to AA. It doesn't matter. You're actually making the point to say, I have a problem, and I'm a solution-based MFer, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna freaking hammer that shit till I'm the best I can be. And that's the shit. When you get into that mindset and you start to see the tree grow and you start to see the neuroplasticity grow, you're like, then you see the 2-year-old after 7 years of infertility, then you see the wife come through and our marriage blossom, then you see the church be presented to us, then you see the music, and then you see, you know, and it doesn't always work out like that, but it does if you keep going. It
I always wanted
always
to say, if you believe that it does, you will find a way to yes, and you will make it happen. I mean, I just truly do believe that. You just
I
gotta
believe
keep
that.
going. You can't quit.
Infertility is a tough one with that mentality, but I do believe if you believe it will happen, it will happen. And that's so, like, roll your eyes. The skeptics that roll their eyes, I laugh at them all the time. The smart dudes and smart women that's like, yeah, that kind of takes out a, I'm kind of out there. You're like, well, that's not why. I don't know. We can go into a deeper thing there, but that is, if you believe you're healing, you're healing. If you believe you're winning, you're winning. If you believe you're, you know, you can do it, you can do it. It's like, it's not easy. I have bad, I'll quote Deion Sanders, like, I've rarely had bad days. I don't let myself have bad days, but I have bad moments all the time of, like, why is that son of a bitch doing that? And why ain't I making more money? They're taking too much money. He's stealing our this song. Why is he playing that festival? I should be playing that. I do that. I did that this morning, but I know how to get out of that. And that is, I can walk. I hear my baby laughing downstairs. There's way more good than bad. And, you know, if you don't want to hear that, you probably ain't gonna like being around me, because that's how I've stayed alive.
I was about to say, one of the very last questions I had for you is, how have you been able to create a circle around you? Because I personally truly believe that you are who you surround yourself with, and you have to have amazing boundaries. You have to be able to surround yourself with great people. I am very, very blessed that I have a very small circle. My circle exists because I just want people like yourself in that circle, people who are believe away to yes, people who have a drive, ambition, a purpose on this planet, people who are faith filled. How have you been able to keep that group of people around you?
The way to yes is the balls to say no. Um, nope, I'm good. I'm not gonna go on that vacation because you suck. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with you. It's like you're not at the frequency I'm at. Like, I don't want if I don't wanna go, if it ain't a hell yes, it's a hell no, you know? And that's harsh. But at 41, going through what we went through, um, but also loving that person that is like, it's not that I'm better than you. It's just, no, man, I'm good. I've got a group proximity is power.
Amen.
And the 5 people that I have around me that I call when I'm up in the morning, they answer. 6 o'clock, they answer. 5:30, they answer. What's up? Hey man, tell me about this. What John's talking about right here in John, 4 through or hey man, having a little bit of problem. A guy, may come up and say, I'm having a problem with porn or I'm having a problem with this. It doesn't matter. I'm having a problem with eating. I'm having problems with suicide thoughts. I'm having problems with marijuana or you know cocaine or dude. It's those 5 dudes and 5 women. They are. I'm a verbal processor, so I'm very guilty of just talking about things that I want to happen. I don't apologize for it because that's how I make it happen. I talk about it. My mom's a cosmetologist. I get it honest. Um, yeah, the path to yes is the balls to say no, man. And that's hard when you're young, as you want to say yes to everything. And I do say yes less uh these days. But I still say yes a lot. But when it comes to spending time, hey man, you want to go get some lunch? Um, it's weird. It comes across weird sometimes, but it's like, um, what would you like to talk about? What are we gonna talk about?
Yeah.
you know, if we're talking about the same thing and it's like you want to talk about people, stupid people talk about people. You've heard this quote,
Amen.
you know, smart people talk about ideas, brilliant people talk about dreams, something like that. Man, when you go to eat barbecue with my buddy Jonathan, man, he's like, "Let me tell you about this idea. I got this idea." And dude, we might be talking about like Starlink and how to link Starlink into real estate and how to put a song behind Starlink real estate and how to our path to Mar-a-Lago or to meet Elon or like I'm
Oh
not
my god, I wanna be at that lunch. I totally agree with you. I have a rule that basically if I don't leave a conversation or a lunch or going for drinks or whatever feeling better than when I showed up, I chances are will not say no. I think time is one of our most important assets, and unless I am feeling, like, better than when I showed up, chances are it's gonna be a no, and I think a lot more people need to have that conversation with
that's
themselves.
yeah, that's why I said yes to this podcast because I don't remember much from that because it was a long time ago and a lot of life has happened. But I do remember the lot, in the conversation, some of the conversation. I don't remember the conversations we had, but I remember the way I felt. And that's people remember how they feel around you. They may not remember what your name or what you talked about, but they remember how they felt. And that's why I said yes to this podcast, is because I just remember. So kudos to you there.
Well, I appreciate it so much, and I can't wait, and I would love to meet your wife. I cannot wait to reconnect on the golf course again. Are you still playing?
Um,
Kind of,
so
maybe?
a golf swing is flow, man. It's synchronicity and just like and um it it really messed that up. But the first time I went with John Daly and Dan Tominski.
Speaking of the most talented human being on planet Earth, John Daly, yes, go ahead.
I love this swing. It's awesome.
It is wild. It is the most wild experience ever to see him hit a golf ball.
And I line up and people were watching because it's John. And uh he goes, "Go ahead, man." I had not hit a ball since the stroke. This was last year, maybe. It was kind of chilly. It felt good. And I can't turn over. Like this left hand is not, it didn't turn over and the blade stayed open or the face stayed open and it shot straight and this dude did a hop over it. Like I just let, and John goes, "Well, all right, man, here's your drink." If he just handed me the drink and we, I'm playing with my right hand and like it's basically a putting motion and I can hit it 100 yards,
Well, you know
so
what the funny part about that is though, Drake? Not most people don't know this, and I'm assuming you know this, but most of the power in a golf swing comes from your right side. Most people think it's coming from your left side, but that's why a lot of hockey players, like I got a few buddies in the NHL and stuff like that, fabulous hockey players because it's the same move, right? It's
mm,
baseball pitchers, same thing. I mean, I know you're at Ken's event, like a few baseball guys out there too. Hockey guys, baseball guys, those are the guys that play golf the absolute best because it's the same move. It's from your right hand side. So
mhm.
you're fine.
Yeah, and I think I'll get it. I need to just go to the range
It
and
needs to warm the hell up before anything.
yeah. I I want to tell you something real quick. I'm working on.
Please,
Um, if you got a second,
of
but
course.
when I was the new tennis balls on my walker thing, Alex's brother went and we're big hunters, fishermen, trappers. That's how we grew up, eating the tomato sandwich that we made the tomato, cooking the deer, eating that, it's just what we did. He goes, "We should put a game camera down in behind your house." Long story short, this is Tennessee. Like I'm talking a Kansas, Illinois level trophy deer 2 weeks later comes by that game camera. Very unusual. Like a 175-inch deer.
Damn.
Some people will know what I'm talking about. Some people won't. Like giant. And um, I was pissed off before that because my pupils, some of my buddies were flying past me, and I'm stuck. And I'm like, well, I can't climb a ladder stand. See that deer, go to Alex, and I go, I got to learn how to climb a ladder stand. She goes, "Drake, don't start this crap. We have to learn to walk. I'm not going to go through this again and you fall out of a ladder stand." And I showed her the picture of the deer. She goes, "Well, you're definitely not going to Kansas or Illinois." I said, "Look at the picture. It's right behind the house." I said the same thing to my uh, physical therapist, who's a hunter, 35-year-old dude. And he said, "All right, get on that Versa climber." 2 months later, I was climbing a ladder and I never killed that deer, but I climbed ladder stands. I got on tractors. I created food plots. I drug my left leg around all year. I mean, this was a year after the stroke. And I drug around and I crawled and I fell and I didn't tell Alex I fell and I fell 20 times a day. And I got, my hands in the dirt and I grew these plots and I killed some deer that year, but we documented all that. And when I went back to get my angiogram, Dr. Miracle goes, "Man, there's plasticity that's formed around this lesion. And it's because I had a purpose. I was getting back to the stage. That was one purpose. But I saw that deer and that deer healed me. So it helped heal me, the pursuit of it, because now I'm a hunter, now I'm a provider, now I'm all this. So we documented all that, and that's coming out with Real Tree. And, I'm going on this whole podcast tour with people like, like Cam Haynes, Michael Waddell, the Hunter podcast. All these guys have been gracious enough. And, you know, I'm a writer. So we wrote this bear attack revenant style treatment if that makes sense,
Yeah.
to this story. And the deer really, the actual kill is 1% of it. It's the pursuit of the goal and seeing a picture. That's why I write everything down. The picture of the deer triggered this primal instinct in me and created neuroplasticity scientifically. We have it, and it's in the documentary. What a great story for, Realtree was like, we're in, federal, we're in, banded, we're in. And it got funded pretty quick because hunting needs a story like that. Golf has a lot of stories where, I mean, you're sitting there bawling, crying when you hear the story of, there's so many. I mean, Tigers is amazing, just to name the one that everybody knows, but there's 50,
Well,
you know?
even Kenny's been on the podcast when Kenny talks about, obviously having, his scoliosis. Same thing. I
Yeah.
mean, Ken's come back. So, when is the documentary coming out? When do we go on tour? Where does everyone follow you? And then I'd love to have you back.
Yes. So, the documentary will come out, August of 2025, 1st of August, right before hunting season. Um, the tour starts March the 1st. I'll be on tour with Riley Green in April, and then we'll be all over the country, basically through the spring and summer. And we're going to Europe, I think in maybe May. So we'll be over there for our European fans. And you can follow me at Drake White Stomp on Instagram. That's Drake White Stomp, like stomping your foot, which is funny because it's hard to stomp. But um, and drakewhite.com is where you can get tickets. And yeah, we're pretty active on socials.
You are. You're funny. I love the whole Drake video with that Kendrick Lamar. I don't really understand it, but I loved your video, and, like, the best part at the end where you're, like, almost busted out was the best part.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Kendrick Lamar thing, man, I don't understand.
I don't understand it either, but, like, it was wonderful that you're like, "Why are all these people after" it was
I mean, I understand the performance, but I don't understand the blowback. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, no,
Your
exactly.
listeners will have to check it out.
It was hilarious. Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for doing this. You guys, please, Drake White Stomp, go see him in concert because I will be looking at some of those stops. And then hopefully we get to catch up on the golf course. I'm sure we'll be at some of the charity events together.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Enjoy.
I appreciate you so, so much.
Thank you.